Good evening, welcome to Central News for Friday the 14th of February, and a happy Valentine's Day to you. I'm Hilary Entwistle. In today's news, November 2013, Tauranga City and Western Bay Plenty District Councils adopted the Provisional Joint Local Alcohol Policy. A survey was carried out between December 2012 and February 2013 to gather the community's view on a number of issues, including opening hours, location of licensed premises, the number of for on and off licences premises, and a one-way door policy. 805 responses were received, and this feedback contributed to the development of the policy. The draft local alcohol policy was adopted for public submission on the 30th of July. The submission period ran from the 5th of August to the 5th of September 2013, and 1,044 submissions were received. After hearing from submitters, the Joint Governance Committee made some amendments to the policy, which resulted in the Provisional Local Alcohol Policy being adopted by both councils. Western Bay Mayor Ross Patterson explains the submissions process for this policy.
It's the usual process, submitting to our Provisional Local Alcohol Policy, and it closes on the 24th of February, open for a period of time now, and I am aware at this stage that there have been no appeals.
Friends of the Village are a volunteer group that has been set up to help bring life back to the historic village in Tauranga. The village was once a busy tourist attraction in the 80s and 90s, but some say it has become a ghost town. The Friends are holding weekly working bees, where they hope to plant a fruit tree field, place plaques on the buildings, and eventually a working tram through the centre. Friend of the Village, Brian Mariner, says anybody is welcome to attend their next working bee on Tuesday mornings.
It would probably be a follow-up to the one we just had. Try to inform people as to what we'd like to see happening, and there'll be a safety feature in with that as well.
Tauranga City's property market is starting to feel the heat of new home loan lending restrictions, with a drop in buying demand and listing on the back of another climb in house prices. Quotable Value's latest monthly figures show the average current value in Tauranga of $439,974 is increasing slowly, with a 3.8% rise in values since January 2013, along with a slight 1% increase in the last 3 months. QV valuer Richard Allen believes in Tauranga that LVR restrictions seem to be taking hold, with signs on there being less demand from buyers and also a lack of supply with less listings on the market. Friends and family of Tauranga's Jinty Rourke packed Holy Trinity Church on Devonport Road to farewell the well-known historian who died unexpectedly last week. Jean Euphemia Finlayson Rourke, known widely as Jinty, passed away suddenly overnight on Waitangi Day following a recent diagnosis of pancreatic cancer. About 200 of the 71-year-old's friends and families attended the funeral, where she was remembered as a remarkable, history-loving and helpful wife, mother, grandmother and friend. Her accolades include a Queen's Service Medal in 2007, an honour she described as a great recognition for history. Now for our region's weather for the weekend, Hamilton, you will have some morning cloud and then it will be mainly fine with light winds. Your expected high is 25 and an overnight low of 9. Your Saturday Tauranga will be sunny with sea breezes. Your expected high is 25 and an overnight low of 15. Sunday for you, Hamilton, will be mainly fine with light winds and a high of 27 and an overnight low of 12. Tauranga, the same for you, mainly fine with light winds, a high of 25 and a low of 17. Just ahead, saving Waipa's history. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. If you are a heritage enthusiast or have experience or qualifications relating to heritage, you may like to apply for the Heritage Waipa Committee. Anne-Marie spoke with Tony Roxbar and Dawn Inglis from the Waipa District Council to find out more about the Heritage Committee.
The committee will consist of 10 members and 2 of those are councillors, and the chair will also be a councillor, so we're looking for 8. 8 people that have a genuine history or interest in heritage within the Waipa district.
What decisions will the Heritage Committee be responsible for?
The committee are a standing committee of council, so they will be able to advise council around policy of heritage. They will also take responsibility for the allocation of the Heritage Fund, so that's a $70,000 contestable fund, and it's available to people who have an interest in heritage or involved in the conservational management of a heritage item, feature or site. They'll also be involved in advocacy, the conduit between those people with a heritage interest and the council, so providing that feedback to the council. They can also take an active role in some of the sites that the council manages. So the council itself has core money that it spends on heritage activities, so they can be involved in the advice around that.
Some of that core council responsibility is the Victoria Bridge footpath project that's going on at the moment. And Dawn, you're in charge of that. Tell me about it.
The Victoria Bridge footpath project is an opportunity for us to reconstruct the footpaths on the bridge to a greater width than they are at present, to give greater facilities for people on scooters and motor scooters and the like. So the bridge itself was constructed in 1907, so it had its centenary in 2007, and at that point it was identified that the beams under the footpath were corroded, and it was important for council to start looking at replacing them. So we've taken the opportunity whilst replacing them to upgrade the bridge. The bridge itself, a very important link between Cambridge and Leamington for traffic, and one of the reasons it's known as the high-level bridge here in Cambridge is that prior to 1907 there were other bridges linking Cambridge and Leamington from about 1870, but these were at a much lower level in the river and were flooded and washed away. So hence why it's known locally as the high-level bridge.
How might the Heritage Committee assist the council in that particular project?
The bridge itself is a Historic Places Trust listed structure, and so as part of the work we've had to relook at how we will do the handrails, and working with the Historic Places Trust on that matter, we would have really appreciated, I guess, the guidance that could have come from that committee.
For more details, go to waipardc.gov.nz. The Tauranga Women's Refuge has developed a new children's program. I spoke with their children's advocate about how we go about breaking the cycle of abuse. How do we break that cycle of abuse?
With a lot of work, really. There's some fantastic Living Without Violence and Stopping Violence programs for men and women, as well as our program that we run here for the children. And it is really about unlearning and relearning a different way to live. But first and foremost, by stopping the violence. There's no point in trying to reteach something if old behaviours are still happening. So our program offers children the tools in order to make different choices in their own lives, to realise that you can live in a violence-free way, and that controlling behaviour and violence isn't part of a loving relationship.
Why has Tauranga Women's Refuge decided to start this program?
We saw a need. We're the only service provider that provides this program in Tauranga City. We work with the mums all the time and just really saw that the children were really missing out on something, that this was an opportunity for us to not just be the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff that Refuge is, but that we could, working with the children, meet them halfway down the cliff and give them tools in order to work their way back up. So we're really, really proud that we're able to do that.
How are you funding Tamariki Ora?
Our program is fully approved and funded by the Ministry of Justice. So if there is a protection order in place, then it's fully funded by them. We also have a very limited number of programs that are funded by Child, Youth and Family through our Ministry of Social Development contracts. But yeah, that's how it's funded.
If you or anyone you know needs help, you can call 0800 2Refuge or the crisis phone on 07 541 1911. Coming up after the break, the closure of rural maternity units. Welcome back. Jim McMurray is the Ultra Marathon Cycling Association World Champion after completing 2 laps of Lake Taupo in 9 hours 1 minute. He got off his bike and spoke with Anne-Marie about another favourite cycling event, the Avanti Drome Rev 100 Cycling Festival.
The Rev 100 is one of your favourite cycling events. You're back for the 4th year. What keeps bringing you back?
Well, I live fairly close to it, so it's not hard to get to. The organisation's unbelievable. It's so safe. There's marshals everywhere. Course is nice and challenging, and always trying to do a better time and riding against other riders and seeing how you're going. And this year the New Zealand Club Nationals are in Cambridge in May, so what better place to do some more training.
Now, I heard a rumour that you actually cycle from your home to the start line in Cambridge. Is that right?
Yes, most years, if the weather's good, I'll ride in and do the race, and sometimes I've ridden home after as well, just to keep the kilometres up.
What have you noticed about the quality of the field over the years?
A couple of weeks before the event, I'll go out and ride the course, but most of the time I ride down towards Tokoroa through the Arapuni area, the quiet country roads, and pretty undulating, so keeps the fitness up.
Where do you train for the event? Do you get out on the circuit?
Well, the numbers keep increasing, and I think the riders are getting fitter and faster every year. You know, it's definitely an event that people want to come and do and challenge themselves and challenge each other.
The Rev 100 is made up of a lot of different components. If you had to pick one, what would be the best part of the Rev 100?
Venue is just unbelievable, and then when you finish, the elite race comes in half an hour to an hour after, which is just great to see. You know, the top end of the sport racing and right there in front of you. Whereas at Taupo, the finish before we even start, just about. So it's good.
You're an Avanti man. We're standing here in the Avanti Drome, a world-class venue. What's the buzz as you go about meeting your clients and other cyclists?
Oh, every time I come in, it just blows me away, and it's just, yeah, I've paid my money, I'm going to get a bike, and I come and ride in here as well, so yeah, it's just great.
And the first event, of course, is the National Track Championships here in March. Is there much talk about that?
Oh, everyone's talking about it. You know, it's always in Invercargill. It's the only other covered velodrome. It's amazing. I think it'll be sellout on some of the nights. You know, Com Games same year, so it'll be big.
A New Zealand Institute Community Healthcare feasibility study commissioned by the Waikato DHB found that the number of women choosing to give birth at Rotorua in Morrinsville is declining. Piako Maternity Action Group has been formed to keep the birthing unit at Rotorua open. Anne-Marie spoke with Te Aroha midwife Jen Hirawani about the proposed closure.
Jen, welcome to Central News. We're talking the maternity hospital, Rotorua to be precise, in Morrinsville. Yep. And the Waikato DHB commissioned a feasibility study. It found that only 70 women birthed at Rotorua in the year leading up to June 2013. Closure is recommended.
Yeah.
Maybe they've got a point if only 70 women are using it.
Yeah, we dispute the numbers a little bit in that 70 women birthed there. They've not sort of counted women that started labouring there and then were transferred out for medical reasons to Waikato Hospital. There's a few of them. There's also the women that had to birth at Waikato but then transferred back for their postnatal stays, and there's a lot of those women. There's women that also unplanned home birth and then transferred in for postnatal care.
Right.
There's also women from out of the area that transferred there, that birthed there en route to Waikato. They weren't going to get to Waikato, obviously, so they stopped there. They may be coming from Thames, Pyro, that sort of area. They weren't counted either. And in terms of antenatal, they've not sort of looked at that very closely. There's a lot of antenatal assessments, emergency assessments that are done at Rotorua, and if they close that, they'll have to be done in Hamilton.
So with no birthing unit in Morrinsville, women in labour would have to travel to Hamilton by car. Yes. As someone who's had to travel in a car in labour, it's not the most comfortable thing in the world.
No.
Also, what are the risks involved with it as well?
With travelling in labour, for most women, it's generally safe to travel. Obviously, there's risks associated with birthing. Some women will birth en route, so then there's risks for the baby. if it's winter and it's born, cold and all that sort of thing, women bleeding, just birthing en route, those sort of risks. There's also just stress. You would probably remember travelling in labour, it's stressful. So that adds things like hormones into the play. Then they get to where they're going and so they might need more pain relief because adrenaline's running, and just a flow-on effect for perhaps more intervention.
Some people might say, well, go by ambulance then, call an ambulance.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's the cost, because you get billed for the DHB don't fund that service, so you get a bill for travelling. So that's families wearing that cost of getting there. Sometimes it's one ambulance driver, so if you end up delivering en route, he'll have to stop and pull over to help you have your baby and get back in and continue driving. In Te Araha, that service is Monday to Friday, 9 till 5. So unless babies can arrive in that time frame, that's unrealistic. We might get firefighters turning up to help you get there, because that service isn't 24/7 anymore, or you'll be waiting over an hour for an ambulance to come from Hamilton, to come from wherever it may be coming from. So yes, it's an option, but is it a good option? At the moment, no, not necessarily.
Jen, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Make sure you have your say. Submissions can be made until Friday the 21st of February at waikatodhb.health.nz/birthing. Coming up, Bottomley Pots is here. If you have just joined us, welcome to Central News. The Hamilton Gardens Art Festival started today and runs for 2 weeks. There are 250 performances, and as Anne-Marie found out from the festival director, there is something for all ages.
From music to art to movies, the Hamilton Gardens Art Festival really covers all bases. Tell me about Movies Amongst the Roses.
Yeah, the classic movies Down in the Roses is definitely a festival favourite. We do the Rocky Horror Picture Show on the main stage, but the classics in the Roses are lovely. People cruise down with a picnic and a bottle of wine and just chill out with their friends to watch one of the movies that we've got on. This year we've got Singing in the Rain, Point Blank, and a couple of others as well.
You've got a number of absolutely free performances too.
Yeah, we do. I mean, it's being affordable and accessible is really important, and we get massive support from our community funders to help that happen. So big ups to them. This year, I think there's about 127 performances that are completely free, no matter what age you are, and then you can probably add another 15 performances to that, which are, yes, mum and dad have got to pay to get in, but the kids are free. So it's pretty cool when you look at the program and see the amount of free stuff that we're able to put on because of the support from our community funders and sponsors.
And there's plenty of laughs available with comedy performances too. Is it wise to book tickets for these?
Absolutely. The Bitches Box and Battle of the Bastards, Miss Fletcher Sings the Blues and Garden Giggles, they're all hilarious in their own way. I think the Bitches Box is probably, based on what ticket sales are doing at the moment, going to be the first show to sell out. So if you're planning on coming along, get onto the website at hgaf.co.nz and get your tickets sorted out as soon as possible.
You've been involved for the last 5 years with the Hamilton Gardens Art Festival. How has it changed over that time?
5 years. 2010, we changed it from a 10-day event to a 14-day event. I wasn't festival director back then, so I was just sort of helping out behind the scenes. So I can't, make any claims to fame there. But that really made a difference to the amount of stuff that we could program as far as the smaller theatre pieces and things in the second week. So that was a big change, and we've had a lot more people coming through since then. The other thing we really focused on this year was trying to get a bunch of New Zealand artists who have had exposure on the world stage into the festival. So shows like The Bitches Box, In Flagrante, On the Upside Down in the World, and Battle of the Bastards have all, a couple of them have come back from the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. One's just come back from the New York Solo Festival, and another one's had a really successful season on the Canadian Fringe circuit. So it's really nice to see those guys here, but we've still got tons of local talent as well.
For a full program, see hamiltongardensartfestival.co.nz. Bottomley Pots Covered in Spots has arrived in Tauranga to celebrate a $100,000 donation to the project from National Construction Maintenance and Management Services provider City Care. I caught up with the lovely ladies of Creative Tauranga to find out the latest.
Well, it's all go with our Harry McCleary Sculpture Project. We're in the final stages of fundraising. With a $100,000 donor coming on board just before Christmas and just announced. That's been a huge boost to the project, made us all feel love even a lot longer. And we're really just calling on corporates and individuals now to come forward with a donation. Every dollar counts. We're nearly there. If we can get this rolling in the next 4 to 6 weeks, Harry will be in the ground for Easter, and that would just be fantastic. You know, turn it on. Turn it on, Tauranga.
Oh, I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Are you going to have a little bit of a celebration once Easter comes along?
A little bit of a celebration. It's been a 5-year journey so far, so yes, just a tad of a celebration. But there will be an official unveiling, and there will be some very special guests at that particular unveiling, and it's nice for the public to know that actually every donor is recognised at the site. We will have an acknowledgement board there, so everyone that gives $5 and over will be acknowledged. Your name will be cast on the Tauranga waterfront for up to 100 years. So it's quite nice to actually sort of make that memory of someone or a tribute to your children like I've done. That side of things. Favourite school teacher, we've had a few people do that remember them reading Harry McCleary stories to them at school. So come and see us at Creative Tauranga. There is a donors form available for anyone interested, or you can pop onto the Give a Little website, type in Harry McCleary, and it'll take you through for a donation procedure. It's quite simple.
Now, we haven't actually caught up with you ladies in a while, so what have been some of the highlights going on in Tauranga over the last month?
Oh, wow. We've just, Waitangi Day, we had a couple of great events, one down at Village on 17th and the other one out at Papamoa. So many things have been happening. We've been so busy. I can't...
Gosh, we had January just was jam-packed. We had jet sprints and air shows and concerts at Mills Reef with some of the good oldies. We've had the Marchwood Blues picnic just happen, which has been fabulous. It's just been a hive of activity, actually. The bay's been just full of it, which is just so fantastic to see. So, yeah, it's been an enjoyable summer.
And Tracy, what's that behind you?
That crate behind me contains a very special guest to our city, Mr. Bottomley Potts, covered in spots. And what we are doing for the next 7 days is having Mr. Bottomley Potts on display at Creative Tauranga. So you can pop in between 9 and 5 weekdays, or 10 to 3 Saturday and Sunday this weekend only. So it's a short viewing time, but if you'd like to come in and see how amazing these sculptures are, he's a fabulous example of the work of Brigitte West.
Remember, Bottomley Potts is on display for 7 days at Creative Tauranga. That is the news for this week. Next week, I find out about the online drinking game Neck Nominate and the effect it has on the brain. I get into the debate of the Rena Rec and does Tauranga need a new stadium? Anne-Marie debates rural maternity units and what goes into a healthy kid's lunchbox. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Have a lovely evening and a fantastic weekend.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.